over 30 outstanding young scientists, and more than 18,000 graduates contributing to agricultural development. UPCA, now College of Agriculture and Food Science, or CAFS, has been continuously contributing to nation building through its instruction, research, and extension function. A mere 10 years after establishment, the college was able to start breeding works with the production of sugarcane varieties with high productivity and resistance to Fiji and mosaic disease. In the 1920s, the importance of agriculture was intensified and UPCA was recognized as neighboring countries began sending their students to Los Baños because of the high quality of education. In the 1930s, breeds with superior characteristics such as the Burkhala pig, Los Baños Cantonese chicken, and Philippine cattle were developed. The 1960s was a fruitful decade for research. Makapuno, a coconut cultivar often made into a dessert, was pioneered and perfected. Meanwhile, the Dairy Training and Research Institute was the first in the country to freeze buffalo semen, paving the way for artificial insemination of local carabaos. Along with the establishment of UPLB in the 70s, the college received the prestigious Ramon Magsaysay Award for International Understanding, Asia's counterpart for the Nobel Peace Prize. In the same decade, the C4 plants were developed. The soil test kits were produced in support of the Masagana 99 program, and the mango induction technique was introduced. Continuing the production of quality research outputs in the 1980s, techniques to minimize post-harvest losses, the accelerated fish sauce manufacturing process, and the rapid test kit for the detection of pesticide residue on vegetables were developed. The 1990s saw many new varieties across species or crop types, including Sinta papaya, the first Philippine-bred hybrid, UPLB Gold, a durian variety, and Doña Amelita, a musaenda named after the wife of former President Fidel Ramos. The award-winning National Corn-Based Farmer Scientist RDE Training Program, or FSTP, was also established around this time and still remains as one of the university's primary extension programs. In the field of instruction, the book titled Integrating Sustainable Agriculture in the BSA Curriculum, the UPLB College of Agriculture Experience, was published in 1999. At present, the College of Agriculture and Food Science, or CAFS, continues to be the premier institution of higher learning in agriculture and food science, and remains committed to nation building through its instruction, research, and extension programs. In order to produce the best graduates, all of our courses are outcomes-based education, and continuous improvement of the curriculum is being practiced to meet the challenges of the 21st century. As testament of excellence, CAFS is constantly recognized by different organizations. In research, we continue to implement relevant studies with focus on the 12 priority commodities to address food security. Moreover, technologies are constantly developed to aid in responsible food production. Supplementing these are extension activities to disseminate the knowledge generated to improve food productivity and livelihood of the people. We believe that present technologies will future-proof our food systems. Some of our notable developments are iDetect, Coraginam, Plant Health and Pest Clinic, Pest Management Tools and Techniques, Smarter Pest Identification Technology or SPITech, snap hydroponics, drone technology, rapid immunofilter assay for virus indexing, nanofertilizers Fertigrow, Hormogrow, nanobiosensors, biochar. We at the College of Agriculture and Food Science will continue to promote and nurture a culture with innovative yet conscientious minds and cutting-edge skills to lead and serve the country and the region. We are one college with one goal towards sustainable food systems.
Hi, magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Good afternoon sa lahat ng ating participants for this afternoon's webinar. Welcome po sa ating webinar ngayong hapon sa lahat po ng registrants at sa lahat po ng ating mga guests. So our afternoon's webinar is entitled The Hammer and Dance of the COVID World, 5 Mental Health Tips in Coping with a New Reality. And we will have a distinguished guest speaker for this afternoon, Dr. Salvador Benjamin Vista. But before we introduce our guest speaker, and before he gives his talk, let me just first give you the house rules. So we'll have to follow these house rules. First is please turn off your microphones when you are not speaking to avoid noise interference. Second, participants are allowed to set questions in our Zoom question and answer chat box. And for those watching via FB live stream and YouTube, you may post your questions in the comments section. During the question and answer, if you wish to speak or react, feel free to use the raise hand icon. And you are strongly encouraged to actively engage in our webinar. So those are our house rules. Pa-follow lang po. Now, for our opening remarks, let us please hear from our Dean of the College of Agriculture and Food Science, Dr. Elpidio M. Aglisit Jr.
Hi, good afternoon, Dr. Aquino. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Hi, good afternoon to everyone. Of course, to Dr. Salvador Benjamin Vista, our speaker for today. Welcome back, sir. To the brains and beauty behind the Kapsama New Kami program, of course, headed by Dr. Catherine Ann Israel. To our students, the Aggies of the future who are here with us today. To the men and women of the College of Agriculture and Food Science, guests and friends, a pleasant and blessed afternoon to all. Hope everyone is safe and healthy. Of course, on behalf of the College of Agriculture and Food Science, I wish to welcome you in today's webinar. For the information of our students, especially the new ones, the Kapsama New Kami program is the banner program of the CAP Student Health and Wellness Committee to serve as a support system for our students. And incidentally, this month is the National Mental Health Awareness Month. That is why the webinar, the Summer and Dance of the COVID World, 5 Mental Health Tips in Coping with New Reality, is offered to you. Our speaker today, Dr. Vista, will explain to you these things. I assure you, our dear students, Dr. Vista is one of the best speakers in this topic. We heard him talk last year in one of our webinars wherein I also learned a lot, especially how our minds work and how it is connected with emotions. Understanding these things actually helped me understand myself better when I am stressed or tired, and definitely how to cope with it. I hope in today's session, you and I will learn also a lot, which we can share to others especially now that we are facing so many adversities. Of course, Dr. Vista, thank you very much for always giving the college your time. Just like what you said before, you are always welcome here in our college. Thank you for being our partner in helping our students cope with different situations and care for their mental health. Of course, to our dear students, I heard some of our students said that the studying in UP is prestigious. We should always remember with this prestige comes great expectations, and with great expectations comes great pressure. So when this time comes, when you feel that all things seems all uphill and you cannot cope, don't be hard on yourself. Take a break, rest your mind, your body, and soul, and tell yourself, it's okay not to be okay. So whenever you feel, always remember that your college, your family will always be there to listen to you and guide you. Of course, let us all have an enlightening webinar. Thank you. Take care. May everyone be productive always. Doc Aquino.
Thank you, Dean. Salamat po sa napakagandang opening remarks. Now, to introduce our distinguished guest speaker for this afternoon, he is a diplomate of the Philippine Board of Psychiatry and a fellow of the Philippine Psychiatric Association and the Philippine College of Psychopharmacology. He is also a fellow of the Philippine College of Addiction Medicine. He is also an associate professor of the College of Medicine and Philippine General Hospital, University of the Philippines, Manila, and the chief psychiatrist of St. Luke's Medical Center Extension Clinic. He is also the chairman of the Department of Psychiatry of the Asian Hospital and Medical Center. He is also the medical director of the One Algon Place Behavioral Resource Center. So for this afternoon, let's all welcome Dr. Salvador Benjamin Vista.
Thank you po, Doc Aquino and Dean Agbisit. I hope everybody can hear me. No? So let me, please allow me to share my screen. It's always a pleasure to be with you. No? And I keep on saying that sa katagal ng panahon, I mean, I have been coming back to the college. I actually miss going there now, no? Because it was really a nice time before when I would really have time to really spend with you guys there, no? Breathe the fresh air and enjoy the company of the wonderful college. Yeah, we have 357 viewers, no, Dean. So again, thank you for inviting me. I would like to ask your indulgence. No, I'm not sure of my bandwidth, so if I may just stop my video so that there will be no interruption in my delivery of the talk, if that's okay. Okay, I will come back later on and turn on my video after the lecture is done. Okay, I'll see you later. So hello again, everyone, and thank you once again for inviting me to speak to the UPLB community. And since last year, this talk has been presented in various adapted formats to various groups from hospitals, schools, medical groups, churches, and civic organizations. Included herein are some of my ideas that I have used in many settings since the pandemic descended on us. And this is a composite of my experience dealing with COVID-19 direct victims, indirect victims, like the families of the direct victims. Hidden victims are like the healthcare workers, no? At the Philippine General Hospital, at Asian Hospital, and different other centers in emergency settings, in inpatient settings, and outpatient settings. In August 2020, Secretary Carl Kendrick Chua proposed the hammer and dance theory in our approach to the pandemic. He pointed out the need to balance between maintaining health on one hand and reviving the economy on the other. The hammer entails stopping the virus growth and building healthcare capacity by restricting activity. And the dance, meaning proper testing, contact tracing, the loosening of the restrictions when able, but tightening up again if needed. A year later, my friends, we are facing the prospect of a protracted hammer and dance as new variants rear their ugly head. Indeed, my friends, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, and then hammer, hammer in between. How do we dance with this virus? One of the hardest hit by the hammer are the students and faculty on all levels. About this time last year, I did a quick informal survey of UP students and non-UP students on the difficulties of online school. And these are some of their responses. Di mo feel na separated classes at bahay. Feeling mo dapat may nagawa ka munang productive bago mo gawin yung basic shiz like eating, ligo, etc. Masyado requirements-oriented. The pace is actually worse than regular school. Feeling like a prisoner in your own room kasi hindi matapos mag-requirements. Feeling inadequate kasi hindi mo maturo sa sarili mo yung lesson. Self-paced learning is a lie. Let's be honest. For non-UP students, it's more of the same. Some professors are late for class. Some professors give work even on weekends. Mas nakaka-anxious pag may exam. Mas maraming workload compared to face-to-face classes. Mataas ang standards kahit hindi normal setting. Nakaka-anxious at stress ang mga notification. In consideration, capital letters yun. If ever na mawala during the exam, kung anong last grade mo doon, yan na yun. If ever maling file na send mo, then need mo mag-send ng bago, then the highest grade you can get is 70%. How really do we dance with this virus, my friend? We will be talking about the dance rhythm of SARS-CoV-2 and us. Indeed, the chaos of constant change and uncertainty in an atmosphere of isolation and loneliness have affected us to the core of our being, my friends. Many individuals are convinced that they have acquired some sort of mental condition or a disorder like major depression or an anxiety disorder, and reasonably so, because they do have emotional symptoms that they rarely encountered before in the pre-COVID world. Yet, in many instances, the symptoms do not fulfill the diagnostic criteria for mental disorders, and yet the symptoms are bothersome enough for them to seek help. This paper distills my clinical experience with frontliners or second victims, and of course, the direct victims of this pandemic. The objectives of this paper are the following: to discuss the normal responses of the mind to this pandemic and discuss the process of the mind faced with uncertainty. And third, suggest processes and tools to deal with the uncertainty, particularly for students and faculty in the university setting. Psychopathological states and other abnormal coping will not be discussed in detail here today. So I will not be talking about abnormal coping, but rather a mind normally coping with the pandemic or some other stress. Let us now look into the integrated or resilient mind. What is an integrated and resilient mind? An integrated and resilient mind, dear students, is mindful of 3 main areas. And I want all of you to remember this, students. An integrated and resilient mind is mindful of the body. An integrated and resilient mind is mindful of the mind. And an integrated and resilient mind is mindful of their relationships. And there are three categories under relationships, my dear students: human to human, your relationship with the environment, and your relationship to God. Kailangan mong isipin na yan ngayon. Kailangan mong isipin yan minuto after now. How is my body doing? How is my mind doing? And how are my relationships? And when you are really stressed, and later in the talk, I will be talking about how to do this. But these are the three components of how you can make a rapid assessment on how you're doing. So, relationships, human to human, as I said, environment, and your spiritual, also very important. I will now discuss 5 mental health tips in navigating the COVID-19 world. Let us recall that an integrated, resilient mind is mindful of the body, which brings us to the first mental health tip. Be mindful of your body. So paano to? We must take compassionate care of our body. Okay? So, solitude and quiet time. Very important. In order for any mind to be integrated or resilient, there must be a time in each day which you should spend in solitude. Quiet time can range from 30 minutes to an hour, which you can dedicate to introspection and mindfulness meditation, which has been shown to improve brain structure and function. Good sleep. The basic tenets of good sleep are sleep at night and try to get in 7 to 8 hours of straight sleep. Although this would vary among various ages and occupations, but it's important that this happens because it's during the sleep at night where the neurotransmitters that you've used during the day, when you're busy and your mind is active, get rebalanced so that they can be used properly the following day. A good diet. We need to balance our gut. See? Balance the brain in your gut. The gut is usually called the second brain because it's the place in our body where we have the second most numbers of neurons outside of the brain, outside of the intracranial brain. Many studies have demonstrated the close functional relationship between the gut, especially the bacteria or microbiota that normally reside there, and the intracranial brain, particularly in regulating emotions. Integrating our mind involves watching out what comes into our gut and what comes out and its regularity. We also need to be aware of the microbiota of the gut that you need to keep balanced. So using a probiotic perhaps can help. Endorphins are naturally occurring antidepressants and anti-anxiety chemicals in our brains. This is released by vigorous exercise at least 30 minutes in a day, every day if you can. The addictive process, which is mediated in the intracranial brain's pleasure circuit, will not be turned on if we physically avoid drugs, alcohol, and other addictions like social media addictions, computer gaming addictions, or shopping addictions online, to just name a few, that have arisen in this pandemic. Be mindful of establishing a regular routine for sleeping, rising, eating meals, exercise, and quiet time. Find your study spot at home and use it regularly. Your family members will then learn that this is your spot and that you should not be disturbed when you are in it. Set weekly schedules. based on your schoolwork demand, your class time, study time, family time, and bonding with the members of your family, chore time, errand time, and break time. Diet your food and your media. So by food, not too much of the ready-made fast food, my dear students. Try to home cook your meals, and of course, be conscious of hydration. Okay? And you should also diet your media. No? You should kind of look at the news media and social media like food in a refrigerator. You don't eat all of them all at once. You choose what you eat or the media that you need at different times and not all at once. Mauumay kayo niyan at may indigestion. So moving forward, so that was the body. Now let's move forward and discuss the second element. An integrated or resilient mind is mindful of the mind. Nako, tatlong mind yun. This brings us to the second mental health tip, my dear students. Stop grieving that our old world is gone. Let us think about what we have lost to COVID-19. We have lost many things. What we considered normal is no longer there, or at least some of it is there, but much of it is gone. The ability to socially connect is gone. A painful situation for the social creatures that we are. The unique Filipino capacity, for example, of a family member to watch over their loved ones in the hospital. Yung bantay system natin, di na pwede yun. Or perform the usually socially accepted norms of a wedding, a baptism, a wake, and a burial have been taken away from us. We have lost our other rituals as well. Present and future security have been compromised. For many, and many people have been consulting me because their earning capacities have been taken away or have diminished. The financial future has become uncertain. We have lost persons we care about, both actually to the virus or by distance due to the isolation brought about by health restrictions and quarantine. So much of our former life is gone, and these losses make us grieve. And the discomfort that you have been feeling so often, the admixture of anxiety and depression, the crying spells, even panic symptoms, they may not be actually mental illness, but they may be due to a very important part of the grieving process. To review the stages of grief by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, the first stage is shock and denial. You remember February or early March 2020, we probably thought, this virus is in China. Sa Wuhan yan. It won't affect us. It will stay away from us. No, it won't probably affect the Philippines too much. Or if it does, then, we can handle it. It came. And the lockdowns happened. Many of us were in anger at the restricted movement of the quarantine. This is curtailment of my freedom to move around, to work, to visit other people. The virus spread. Kahit anong galit nyo, the lockdown persisted. So we bargained. All right, I will stay at home. I'll wash my hands and social distance. But this should end after 2 weeks or maybe a month, huh? Hanggang dyan lang ako. But no, it did not go away after 2 weeks or a month. And we're already 2 years into it. Then the stage of depression or sadness sets in. Ay, kailan ba matatapos ito? I don't know when this will end. Many people get stuck there. But once the mind moves away from that stage towards the final phase of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's grief stages, which is acceptance, by saying, all right, this is here. It is real. It's happening. Now I have to figure out how to proceed. Where are you among these grief stages when it comes to COVID, my dear students? Yet the COVID-19 pandemic has added another dimension to the concept of loss. Wow, meron pa. And this, my friends, is what we call anticipated loss. This phenomenon carries with it an inordinate amount of anxiety as we go through the response understandably called anticipatory grief. So what is more than just loss and grief that comes with the loss is actually taking on a new shape. Iba ng anyo. It's anticipating grieving over possible additional losses. And that encompasses the whole unique COVID feeling of combining both grief of what we lost and the anticipatory grief of losing even more because of the uncertainty of the situation. Unhealthy anticipatory grief, my friends, is anxiety. Anxiety is our brain trying to protect itself. It's living the uncertain future in the present. And instead of using our thinking brains, we are using our feeling brains and our threat brains. Many people are dealing with the pandemic in the threat mode, which are the 4 Fs: fight, flight, freeze, and faint, mediated by primitive brain function. But is grief really all that bad? The answer, my brothers and sisters, is no. Unless you don't progress along the stages in a reasonable amount of time. Indeed, a healthy journey from shock and denial all the way through acceptance actually makes us better, stronger persons with integrated minds and a resilient attitude. Let us now look at the healthy journey from shock and denial to acceptance. In this journey, you are transforming from a known reality, our past, or even some our present, to an unknown reality. And dear friends, no one really knows the totality of reality. Reality is so huge that no one can fathom or even conceive of what it really is. We are limited to only the part of reality that we encounter, like the blind men and the elephant portrayed here. Understandably, our individual realities differ, and this may create a problem because all of us have our own definitions of what reality is, di ba? Each individual has his own concept of what is real. Once we have decided on what our reality is, it's very hard to leave that definition. The known reality for us, what is it based on? It's based on the experience and observations that we have made of the world. From these experiences and observations, we choose what is relevant and what we need. We then make assumptions of what is relevant and what we need, and these assumptions become our conclusions about what our reality is. And these conclusions, my dear friends, become the basis for our beliefs. We use our beliefs to negotiate with the world. Our beliefs give us a sense of being safe and certain. It's like a logic that is self-sealing, and it protects us from the ravages of change and crisis because we then hang on to the belief like our truth is the only truth. We create a bubble of safety bubble around us, unshakable and protective against unwanted change. And it protects us when critical incidents happen. Pag may problema tayo, my dear students, di ba? our reasoning is, ayoko niyan, ayoko kasi alam ko na to eh. Many of us tend to hang on to the beliefs and not move forward and remain in that bubble and hence remain comfortable. You will have a tendency to reject change. When confronted, therefore, with the need to change, and everyone is inside their self-sealing logic based on personal beliefs, inevitably conflict ensues. Because each one of us is in our own bubble and are fighting with each other on what decisions will make us safer. And that, of course, differs because we each have our varied beliefs and unique definitions of our own reality. Conflict and chaos ensues. Consequently, persons don't adapt individually, and the community does not adapt as well. When one freezes in their journey, or one who even retreats from moving forward, we say that they are in limbo. An alternative is an impulsive desire to cross and move towards forward to the new reality immediately. And this is described as a liminoid reaction to change. Taking a mind-altering drug, for example, or getting regularly intoxicated on alcohol that would essentially immediately transform your present reality into something new. Needless to say, limbo or liminoid states are undesirable and dangerous. What we need to do, my friends, when change threatens our self-sealing logic is to be humble enough to deconstruct our beliefs. When we're faced with something as formidable as COVID, we need to restudy our beliefs because we can't stay in that safe bubble of self-sealing logic that has worked for us before COVID or that we are used to. We deconstruct or redefine our beliefs by challenging the conclusions that we have made before. We make new assumptions in this new world based on what is newly relevant and what we actually need as based on our new COVID world experiences and observations. Instead of arguing the self-sealing logic that is irrelevant and inutil, we must start paying attention to what's happening in our new world because that is where it all starts. Experience and observation. Example of this is a UP student who says, actually, this setup could have been a little better had they planned it out more. Kaso as you can see, parang pilitan na lang lahat. Pilit pinagkasya yung requirements. Pilit matutunan agad yung topics. Kaya pati grades natin, pilit na pasado. Another student says, A, lack of preparations. B, some instructors do not know how to shift or adjust to online classes, like feeling nila more requirements, better, kahit wala na talagang natutunan mga tao dahil masyadong marami na. Internet connection. Ito talaga main culprit. Ba't ako magbe-breakdown bigla? Mahirap kasi. Online classes. Sa mga lugar pareha sa amin, wala talagang kasignal-signal. Meron, pero sa gabi lang. So I had to sacrifice my health minsan or ruin my circadian rhythm. Crying face. UP pacing isn't compatible with online classes unless you are okay with being not sane or healthy. One more. Nakakapagod. Kahit na anong sipag mo, there would still be piles of requirements to submit. I feel very unmotivated to do my requirements. Some profs don't even discuss the activities they give. Bigay lang ng bigay. I always have weekly breakdowns because I feel like I am not doing enough. I feel guilty even taking a day off. How many of us cannot let go of our safety bubble, my friends? How many of us insist on fitting the old world into our new one, or the old curriculum into an online platform? Like fitting a square peg in a round hole. This is uncomfortable, it's unhappy, and painful. If we are indeed uncomfortable, unhappy, and in pain, what can we do for ourselves? How does one move from the point of leaving the past or present reality to moving forward? What follows are some suggestions for anyone in their time of quiet and solitude. Okay? Quiet time steps, I call it. Outcome-oriented coping summarized here. So it is the negativity that you feel or think of, acknowledge it's there. Gratefully refocus to ano ba talaga ang katotohanan ng kasalukuyan. We must learn how to adapt. We must transform ourselves, and we should persist in making the changes that we make. Let us briefly discuss them one by one. But before that, I invite you to actually think of a worry that you have right now. Isipan nyo, just a small one, or maybe a big one. So step one, and you are doing this in your quiet time, my dear students, when you're alone, diba? And quiet, relaxed. So first is acknowledge the negativity. When a person is under stress, the thinking process is reflexively negative. The reason for this is that our brains have been programmed to first and foremost survive. And some parts of our brains, especially the right cerebral hemisphere, is well developed to scan the environment for any threats. Under stress, the brain needs to fixate on the negative aspects of the situation rather than on the positive. These are what we call automatic negative thoughts, or negative automatic thoughts. Inevitably, there will be negative feelings that will go with those thoughts, such as fear, anger, sadness, guilt, or anxiety, among others. These feelings give you emotional pain, which your brain will want to suppress. The scary thoughts and the feelings, feeling like a gang of feelings. Ignoring or trying to forget the thoughts and the feelings will make the pain worse. Instead, you acknowledge the thoughts as true, my friends, and give yourself time to express each of the feelings that accompany the thought. Acknowledge these feelings one by one. Is it anger you are feeling regarding this worry? Is it depression that you're feeling? Is it sadness? Is it anxiety? Is it fear? Allow yourself a brief time to express this feeling in a non-harmful way. One of the things that you can do is journal it, write it down. Then move on to the next feeling until you have dedicated a brief time for each one. Some of my patients use, as I said, journaling to do this, but when you need to cry, cry for a little bit. You acknowledge them one by one and express it in a non-harmful way. Then each feeling you go through that one by one in your quiet time. Then maybe after all of that, maybe you can go back to the original thought that bothered you and ask yourself, nakakatulong ba sa akin yung pag-iisip niyan? Step 2, gratefully refocus to the present truth. The truth is, yes, you have lost, but not everything. We should be grateful for what we did not lose. Refocus your mind bringing your thoughts of the sordid past and the scary future to the reality of the present. A basic maneuver to do this is being conscious of your breath. Just feel your breath as it enters and leaves your body. This reminds you that you are here and present, and that is something you should be grateful for. The first thing you need to be grateful for is that you are breathing. As one patient describes, quote, "Yes, I am here. I am present. I am not in the past, for that is done. I am not in the future, because that has not happened yet. The breath is coming in and out of my body, and I am thankful for that." As you are breathing, you focus attention to the other parts of your body that have tension and try to relax those parts one by one until you can get relaxed. Then you orient yourself. You open your eyes and you orient yourself to the space around you. If you're doing this in your bedroom, then maybe look at the lampshade or your bedstand or the bed, the chair, the table there, the lights. These are visual cues that can help you refocus on the present, to be grateful for, and to give yourself some compassion. As another patient said, and I quote, "I am here in the present, and although I have lost things, I did not lose everything," unquote. Always fight the urge to go back to the past, because that's what your mind will try to do. Go back to the bubble, diba? Be kind to yourself in your quiet time. Remember that anxiety is possibility, just dressed up in a scary costume. Step 3, learn how to adapt. In a more relaxed state now, you can focus on defining exactly what the problem really is. What is the desired outcomes? What are the desired outcomes? What are the worst case scenarios? It helps to do a resource analysis of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, or the SWOT analysis. Adapting is utilizing what is there to complete what is not there. Many of you are familiar with this process because you have actually done this process at one point in your life. To paraphrase Charles Darwin, my friends, it's not the strongest or the most intelligent that will survive. It is the ones most adaptable to change that will. This phase ends with action points. So dapat meron ng gagawin. And step 4, transform what is useless and broken to what is valuable or unique. This step is acting on the action points. We transform disability into abilities. If disability removed your pride or dignity, then how does one restore it? If disability can be crushing of a spirit, then what must you do so that your spirit can be uplifted? If you lose hope, what must you do to bring it back? Maybe you have lost your natural curiosity of the world. Then maybe pay more attention to what is happening around you. You may not be able to see anything beautiful anymore or beauty in anything. Then make a conscious effort to seek out beautiful things like art or even nature. You have a lot of it there in your campus. Disability deprives us of imagination and dreams. So what must one do to bring back the capacity to imagine and to have dreams again? Indeed, disability is the genesis of creation. We need to be more creative in this pandemic. That's the principle of deconstructing and reconstructing our old beliefs. Step 5 in quiet time, my dear students. Pag meron na kayong mga konting solusyon, mga baby steps, kung paano nyo aayusin yung problema, and you've decided on a plan, then you must persist in moving forward with that plan. But moving forward with your transformation, it is best to keep your expectations realistic. constantly reminding yourself of your own power as well as the limits of your control. Keep renewing your competence. Learn a new skill. Learn more about your skills. Mag-aral kayo lalo. When you meet with disappointment and failure, be reminded to be humble in the face of disappointment or defeat. You may need the help of others to transform and persist. So reach out to your faculty, reach out to anyone there, a senior student, or somebody who you think can help you. To summarize, the quiet time steps in outcome-oriented coping are: acknowledge the negativity, gratefully refocus to the present truth, learn to adapt, transform, and persist. But is achieving acceptance enough? Parang hindi natin napag-usapan yung uncertain future. These questions bring us to the third mental health tip, my friends. And that is, in this pandemic, we need to find a new meaning and a new responsibility for ourselves. Is the achievement of acceptance stage of grief process enough to move us forward into the unknown reality? Perhaps not, because we must not merely just remove the pain of the past losses, but we must also deal with the anxiety of the uncertain future. The solution is not only to accept what we lost, but to find a new meaning in the suffering we feel at present. As Nietzsche says, quote, "He who has a why to live can bear anyhow," unquote. And quote, "To live is to suffer, especially now in the pandemic. To survive is to find meaning in the suffering," unquote. It would be necessary then, my dear students, to add to the stages of grief, as shock and denial, anger, bargaining, sadness, and acceptance, we need to add meaning, like asking the question, how does this pandemic change the purpose of my life? Consequently, with a new meaning, you can define it now, you have new responsibilities to achieve that new meaning. And we ask, what must I do to realize the new purpose? And dedicate your energies fulfilling these responsibilities every second, every minute, every hour, and the day of your life from now on. Responsibilities to what, my dear students? Responsibility primarily for your body, primarily for your mind, and primarily for the relationships that you have. An example of this is choosing to focus on the greater good rather than just following commandments. Let us now proceed to the third component of the integrated mind. An integrated mind or resilient mind is mindful of relationships. So this leads us to the fourth mental health tip. Take care of your relationships. Relationships include human-to-human relationships, relationship with the environment, and relationship with God. Be mindful of your human-to-human relationships, my dear students. Do you care for the people in your life with compassion and empathy? Does a teacher care about their students more than delivering the required lectures, administering exams, and giving grades as they did in pre-COVID times, and just transferring everything online? In this pandemic, do we need teachers who tyrannically rule their classrooms using humiliation and fear as motivators? Good values are the bedrock of harmonious relationships. One is gratitude, referred to earlier in this talk, which is called the mother of all values. The best relationships are run from a perspective of being grateful for what you have, for the relationship itself, and sharing this with people you care about now and in the future. Ideally, the gratitude should be reciprocated. Another value to be reminded of in this pandemic is sacrifice. This is a value I see in so many healthcare workers, particularly those in the front line. Some of them say that, Doc, the more you sacrifice, then the greater reward will be. Another helpful value in COVID times is forgiveness. Those who are angry at the pandemic or something else in their lives now, they need to work on forgiveness, for indeed, if anger is the most powerful toxin in the world, forgiveness is its only antidote. The values of sharing and altruism. The lockdowns, my dear friends, have brought down the economy. This value will help us with this. If you have something to give to someone in need, no matter how small, then give. Because this is one powerful way we can get the economic machinery running better. Let us take care of each other. And finally, proper and consistent communication to the people we are in contact with is the key to having a good human relationship. And student-teacher communication should be constant. If it can't be done on a daily basis, then there must be go-betweens, but the communication flow must be constant, my dear friend. The channels of communication between student, professor, and administration should be open at all times. Most people in the university sincerely care for others, and it would be great if other people knew this. This can be done easily online. Moving on from human to human relationships, we now must be mindful of your relationship with the environment. Shield wall. How are you relating to this COVID environment? To paraphrase a message from Jonathan Smith, an epidemiologist from Yale University, which underscores how we should be mindful of our relationship with the COVID world. He says, and I quote, "First, we're just at the beginning of this epidemic's trajectory. That means even with these measures, we will see cases and deaths continue to rise globally, nationally, and in our own communities in the coming months. Our hospitals, as we have seen them today, will be overwhelmed and people will die that didn't have to. This may lead some people to think that masks, shields, hand washing, and social distancing measures are not working. They are. They may feel futile. They aren't. You will feel discouraged. You should. This is normal in chaos," he says. But this is also the normal epidemic trajectory. Stay calm, unquote. Matatapos din to, mga kaibigan. He continues, "This enemy that we are facing is very good at what it does. We are not failing. We need everyone to hold the line in this pandemic, as this pandemic inevitably gets worse." This is not my opinion, he says. This is the very unforgiving math of epidemics for which I and my colleagues have dedicated our lives to understanding with great nuance. And this disease is no exception. We know what will happen. Let us help the community brace for this impact. Stay strong with solidarity, knowing with absolute certainty that what you are doing is saving lives. Even as people begin getting sick and dying, you may feel like giving in. Don't. In our new relationship with the environment, let us do what needs to be done. Get fully vaccinated, wear a mask, observe physical distancing, wash your hands, and don't cheat. The images show some of the beliefs that we need to deconstruct temporarily. Diba? Yung mga kasama ko naman yan, so pwede na siguro walang mask. Mga kaibigan ko naman yan, so pwede na siguro walang mask. So I can eat, with my family kasi I don't need to wear a mask. Then finally, my friends, strengthen our belief in God. The image centers on the empty tomb and the bare cross. The psychological meaning of this image is for all of us to take all of our resentments, disappointments, and hatred, the negative things in our lives, my dear students. We sacrifice the undesirable in our lives. Crucify all of these. Bury them in a tomb so that we can rise again and redeem ourselves and be a transcendent force for good. And finally, we come to the fifth mental health tip. It's okay to seek help when you're not okay. Approaching a mental health professional, unfortunately, carries a lot of stigma. But more and more people realize that it is not shameful to reach out, because many providers are good at preventing mental illness as well as treating them. There are also many persons in your community, your elders, your clergy, your teachers, your administrators, who can be approached. We need to dance with this virus, my friends. It is difficult because of all the unexpected steps that we need to take. So we use the hammer when we are threatened. And when the threat eases, we do the dance. So what can the university do? I challenge all our universities to build a resiliency program. Some suggestions would be mental health assessment of a student undertaken during enrollment, integration of mental health in curriculum planning and management policies and programs. That would be very nice. Prevention, promotion, and information and educational campaigns on physical, mental, and spiritual health well-being, diba? I told this to you. Body, mind, and relationships. Conduct of mental health wellness activities, regular stress management activities, team building activities, organized peer counseling circle. I call these pods, like the pods of that are used by almost all of the creatures of the world, particularly dolphins. No? Kasi those are the most organized pods. Regular physical fitness activities, interest group sharing. I think we have that in the university, the hobbyists, writers, theater artists, conduction of regular seminars, symposia, or fora on mental health, like this one. Sana naman it works. Organizing the students into support groups to do regular stress debriefing and support peer-to-peer interaction. Conduct of debriefing interventions in case of life-threatening situations or traumatic experiences, like experiencing natural or man-made calamities. The provision of support to students, employees with mental health issues by providing intervention, treatment, and referral. Reintegration of individuals who have completed mental health treatment, and not stigma. No more stigma. Production of promotional materials on workplace mental health, like distributing leaflets challenging the misconceptions that are associated usually with mental illness. So the basic dance steps, my dear friends, to the rhythm of COVID-19. Take compassionate care of your body. Stop grieving that our former world is gone. Find a new meaning and a new responsibility for yourself in pandemic times. Take care of your relationships, human to human, environment, and God. And finally, it's okay to seek help when you are not okay. And I will thank you for listening and leave you with the image of the Starship Enterprise of Star Trek. Indeed, in this new world of COVID, my dear friends, stay calm and boldly go. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Vista. Kamusta naman po ang ating mga participants ngayong hapon? Sana nakatulong lahat ng sinabi ni Sir, Dr. Vista. Hinga-hinga muna. Hinga-hinga. Kasi
Masyadong overwhelming ba? Hindi naman siguro.
Hindi naman, sir. Pero kasi yung mga estudyante natin, nararamdaman natin. Kasi yung minsan pag, for example, sa amin, pag nagme-message yung mga estudyante na, ma'am, hindi mo na ako papasok, I am experiencing anxiety attack. Yung mga ganun. Hindi lang po ba mag-absent, mga ganun. Marami pong ganung messages. And
So they need to do the exercises in problem-oriented coping.
Sana nga po magawa din namin yan sa mga estudyante namin, Dok, kung paano nyo po diniscuss ngayong hapon na yung pagkakadiscuss. Sana makatulong po para sa mga estudyante.
And it's very effective. That's the way I do it for myself. Effective yan.
Ayun. So, malamang, Doc, nakatulong lahat yung inyong diniscuss ngayong hapon.
Later on, I'll teach the students a technique, di ba? Yung alam nyo yung students, yung parang nagpapanik na kayo, yung parang anxious na kayo. No, sometimes what you can do is you can go to a quiet place and then you just, as I said, concentrate on your breathing. And then what you do is, as you are breathing, no, you feel the breath coming in and out. You don't have to count. Just feel your breath coming in and out. And then you look for 3 things. Focus on 3 things that you can see. Ano ba yan? Kung nasa labas ka, may niyog kang nakikita, meron kang kotseng nakikita, meron kang aso doon na focus on 3 things that you can see. And then you next focus on 3 things that you can hear. Ano ba yung naririnig ko? Diba? So what are the sounds that you can hear as you are breathing? No? Do I hear the rooster crowing? Do I hear the sound of the motorcycle? Do I hear the chirping of the birds or the sound of the wind? Focus on 3 things that you can hear. If that still doesn't work, then you move 3 parts of your body. Shake a hand, or you shake your leg, or maybe you shake your booty. Diba? And I'm telling you that anxious feeling will go away. No? And say a little prayer and thank God that you're still here. Okay? So anyway, I think there are people who are raising their hands.
Yes. Meron pong mga nag-raise. Pero before we call on those who raise their hands, Doc, basahin ko po muna yung mga nagtanong. Meron po tayo kasi isang tanong sa FB Live.
Sige po.
Ito po yung tanong niya. What would be the best thing to do when panic attack occur after an unexpected bad event that you have no control over? So ito po ay galing kay Miss Perlin Aguilar.
Yan nga. What is her name? Miss Aguilar?
Yes po.
Yeah. You go somewhere. I just explained what you need to do. Diba? You have to remember, anak, na yung panic that you feel, that's just your brain, kind of wanting to survive. Okay? So what you must do is you calm it down kasi emotional brain yun eh. When you have a panic attack, it's your emotional brain, no, that's driving your whole body. Because the brain drives the body, diba? Everything. So when you're having a panic attack, it's the emotional or your threat brain that is running it. So what you need to do is transfer the control to your thinking brain. Okay? And as I said, breathing, being conscious of your breath, and doing the 3x3 exercise, di ba? Look for 3 things and focus on them. 3, one by one. Listen to something. What do you hear? 3, one by one. And then what you can do kung wala pa yan, anak, is move a part of your body. No? Whatever, shake your head, move your hand. Sometimes you're doing that when you have an exam. You have the attack, right before the exam. Anong gagawin mo? Iinom ka ng gamot para doon? May mga gamot naman para doon, pero iinumin mo yung gamot for a panic attack before an exam, mawawala yung kasi yun eh. These are things that will decrease the speed by which you are thinking. So I don't, well, kung hindi pa naman prescribed by a doctor yan, you can try other maneuvers, which is breathing and these things that I am teaching you, di ba? I have some patients na, one of the things that you can also do to shift is say a prayer. Because pag ang emotional brain ang nagpapatakbo ng iyong katawan, ay kung saan-saan ka dadalhin doon. But when you say a prayer and you memorize a prayer, a memorized prayer, or even not, di ba? You move the functioning of your brain to the thinking brain, not to the emotional brain anymore. So even praying the rosary, that has a beneficial effect kasi when you repeat the words, it comes from your thinking brain. So you're already turning the thinking brain on. No? And of course, prayer and all of that, well, hindi naman ako expert in that, but I think it opens up your brain to other energies that can help calm you down. Diba? Why not? Diba? So I hope I answered that question. Sige po.
Thank you, Doc. Before ko po basahin yung ibang questions, nag-raise po ng hand si Maria Early Diaz. Perhaps she wants to ask her question.
Yes, Miss Diaz. What is your question, anak?
Already.
Baka naman wala na siya.
Miss Diaz, you're still here? Do you want to ask your question personally to Dr. Vista? So let's give her some time. Meantime that we're waiting for her, sir, siguro basahin ko po muna yung ibang tanong na naka-raise dito. So yung una pong tanong is anonymous. Ito po yung tanong niya. What if wala kang support system? You live in a toxic environment and your professors keep telling you, bakit si ganyan, mas mahirap yung lagay, pero natapos niya naman. Comparing you to others as if your struggles shouldn't matter. Baka ganun talaga nagagawa pag sobrang tagal na sa academic, nawawalan ng sense of empathy. Yan po yung isang tanong, no, from anonymous.
Yeah, well, thank you for that question. Parang yung question mo, yung dinidescribe mo, it's consistent with the other answers I got in my survey, di ba? The ones that I was reading during the lecture, di ba? And there's a feeling na parang walang empathy yung mga teachers. Hindi naman siguro na walang empathy ang teacher, but I will just give a sweeping message to the mentors and the parents who are here. If there's one thing that will take away the happiness and joy of our students and our children, it's comparison. No? Do not use comparison because comparison really will be a thief of their joy. Nanakawin yung happiness nila pag kinukumpara mo sila sa iba. What I suggest, my dear teachers and parents, mentors, when somebody is slow, when somebody is not accomplishing what the others can, do not highlight that. What you do is you know, uh, communicate with this student, you engage with this student, separate from the others. Kasi doing that comparison will make them even more distressed. Kasi I'm sure all of the students here at the UP, whatever school you are in, they want to be the best. They want to do their best. But there may be some things in their lives that prevent them from doing their best. So wouldn't it just be normal, no, for us as their mentors and their teachers to go the extra mile and say, you enrolled in this, you enrolled in this university. I know that you want to finish your course here, but of course there are those who don't. No? So that's another scenario. But generally, they want to do well, and when they are not doing well, we should not be the judgmental persons who say you're not doing well because you're worse off or you're a worse person than your peers. Huwag magkumpara, mga kapatid. No? Kasi talagang mananakaw yung konting kasiyahan na lang ang natitira, nanakawin mo pa yan pag kinukumpara mo. So ang dapat nating gawin, teka, anak, medyo nahuhuli ka na eh. Sige nga, mag-usap nga tayo. Ano ba ang mga dahilan? Because they also have their personal lives eh. And as I said, this pandemic, alam mo yung isang pinaka-toxic sa estudyante ngayon, lalo na yung mga edad na between the ages of basta teenage hanggang maybe 20, 24 years old. They are living with their parents now. Ang mga adolescents kasi, mga mahal ko, gusto nila yung mga barkada. Wala silang gusto sa mga parents. Lalo na wala silang gusto sa mga teacher. Kaya they don't like talking to us eh. And that's why during the last part of my talk, I said, let's organize them into pods. Na sila ang magbigay sa kanila. They give each other support and they give each other advice. But going back to the question, don't compare. When they are falling behind, mga mahal kong teachers, take some time and evaluate. What's going on with you, son? What's going on with you, daughter? Diba? We need to be more, I think I gave this talk already before, no? Here with you, diba? The attachment type of education, diba? Na because of the uniqueness of the young people nowadays, we need to be more attached to them like a parent is to a child. No? You can't treat them like my own teachers treated me, like regimented army type. I mean, you stand up, no rolling of eyeballs, no, diba? Hands on the desk, do not move, diba? And I'm sorry, my dears, but our generation of students now do not react to that very well. We need to be more fatherly and motherly towards them, mga kapatid. That is my message to you talaga. Because that's the only way we can get them through. No? I hope that answers your question.
Doc, ito po from Miss, I don't know, Miss or Mr. Jovelyn Sales. What is the best thing to do po pag mismong family po ang nakaka-stress?
Yeah, I read that on the chat. Oh. So, sa aking lecture, sa aking talk, anak, you really need to look at how you are running your relationships. No? So, part of those human-to-human relationships is really your own family. So in your quiet time, mag-isip ka, ano ba ang relationship ko dito sa pamilya ko? Na sinasabi mo toxic sila. No? Parang generalize mo na ang pamilya ko toxic, di ba? Kung yan ang pag-iisip mo, anak, ay talagang ma-overwhelm ka kasi paano mo naman gagamutin yung buong pamilya mo? So ang suggestion ko diyan, during your quiet time, anak, one by one, pag-iisipan mo, ano ba ang katoksikan ni daddy or ni papa? 'Di ba? Ano ang nararamdaman ko pag nandyan si papa? 'Di ba? I told you, 'di ba? What are the feelings you have when you think about this person? Is it anger? Is it inis? Is it sadness? Is it happiness? Is it inspiration? Para sa utak mo, isa-isahin mo yung pag-iisipan para nalagay na sa computer mo yan. So ito pala yung nararamdaman ko kay Papa. Now, so if it is a negative emotion, anak, then you move forward and you think, bakit kaya nagiging negatibo ang emotion ko kay Papa? Bakit naman ako nagagalit sa kanya? It's because of the way he talks and the way he does things. He just yells at me and minumura lang ako parati at walang magandang sinasabi sa akin. Alam mo, thinking about that will at least put your papa in a cognitive set in your mind. No? And you can put it away para, okay, masusolba ko ba yan, yung inis ko kay papa? Kasi kung hindi, ilalagay ko muna sa tabi yon. Alam ko na naiinis ako sa kanya, pero isasantabi ko lang yun kasi may exam ako sa herpetology bukas. That's how you do it. That's what you do in your quiet time, mga anak ko. You put the problematic relationships away, the ones that you can solve or you think that you can have an action point towards. Like, you can say, baka naman siguro kung kakausapin ko naman si Papa ng matagal, baka naman hindi na lang siya puro sigaw sa akin. So, maybe pag may spare time ako, kakausapin ko siya na parang noong maliit ako na parang hinaharot ko siya o kaya nilalambing ko siya. Titingnan natin kung anong mangyayari. So, action point, di ba? So, subukan mo yung action point na yon. And then you analyze, how did he react? And then you move on. Ito na yung sinasabi ko, you have to adapt. The things that you can change, try to change. But if it's something na you cannot change now, you can put it somewhere and stuck it in somewhere in your mind. Why? Your primary reason for being here now is to study. And if things interfere with that, then you have to do something about it, my dear children. Tama ba? You can do many things about it. I have some people who, actually some of my students in the College of Medicine who have problems that are so deep that they have to consult. But we can, no? And their family problems. No? Parents separating, parents, kasi alam mo, this pandemic has created a lot of, actually, a lot of problems within the family itself. I mean, dati, the husband and the wife did not spend 24/7, 24 hours in 7 days a week with their spouse right there beside them. No, because both of them were working before, so they would just see each other during, certain parts of the day. But now, no, they're now both there, and they're finding unique things about themselves that they never knew. And that sometimes can produce negative vibes between a husband and a wife. And if they start fighting, then of course, apektado naman yung napakinggan ng mga anak. So, di ba? In your quiet time, look at your relationships. Ano ba ang naiisip ko tungkol kay mama? Ano ba ang feelings ko tungkol kay mama? Ano ba ang feelings ko doon kay kuya? Di ba? Meron ba akong matutugunan dyan? But one of the things I will really tell you to the person who is asking the question, do not lump them into one big ball, anak, and say, toxic yung pamilya ko. Mahirap yun eh. Kasi you put yourself in a position of helplessness when you do that. I hope I'm making sense. Okay? Sige, I hope I answered that question.
I think na-answered natin ni Doc itong it's a similar question. What is
Oh.
the home environment itself? Ito kasi po yung similar na question and I think you answered this with the previous question. What if the home environment itself is not conducive for rest and peace from work? So what methods can we do?
Yeah, well, so it's slightly different, no? What you need to do is establish your place. 'Di ba? Kumuha ka na, I think it's early in the lecture when I showed the picture of that desk. No? Because your family din, mga students also know that you are studying and you must send that message. It's more difficult with other families and it's easier said than done, but really definitely just delineating a space in the house that is just totally yours. This is my study space, kamo sa kanila. When I am here in this study space, can you please refrain from bothering me muna? When I get out of the study space, then I will answer. That's why the another slide in the talk was you set a schedule. You set a schedule for online class time, study time, but you also have a schedule for talking to your mother, talking to your father, running the errand, buying the things in the grocery, or maybe watching over a younger brother who is online school, tutoring your younger siblings. Isi-schedule nyo siya. Para kung guguluhin kanila, no, ipadala mo sa kanila, 'di ba? You print it out and then you send it to them. Ito yung schedule ko for the day. Oh, so if I need to go to the grocery store, hindi pwede ng 9 o'clock ng umaga kasi may synchronous kami. Oh, but I will have time ganitong oras sa ganitong oras. And then I will go to the store and buy the groceries. 'Di ba? We have to communicate, my dears. I hope I answered the question.
Okay po. Ito po. Actually, marami po talagang tanong eh. So,
sige po, I think we have up to 4 o'clock this afternoon, di ba? So, yeah.
ito po yung isang tanong.
Sabi ni Ma'am Katsi sa akin, Dr. Vista, you have to stay there until 4 o'clock, ha?
Free consultation na po ito, Doc. Ano?
Sige po.
We're so very lucky to have Dr. Vista answering our questions after. Ito po yung isang tanong, Doc. How would you deal with recurring apathy from Dr. Grieving or Donyo?
Apathy. Meaning siguro apathy of going to school or apathy about everything else in their life.
Siguro po.
What I will say, what is the name of this young person asking the question?
Gabriel, Doc.
Gabriel. Alam mo, Gabriel, apathy, ang suggestion ko sa iyo, I have not seen you face to face, but one of the things that you can do, kasi apathy ang problema mo, is gain control over some aspect of your life. Alam mo kasi apathy, anak, yung sasabihin mo na wala akong kagana-gana to do anything. I just don't care. That is usually a response when somebody perceives that they have lost control over their life. Who would not be apathetic? Pag ang buhay mo parang everybody is the one directing your life at wala ka ng control over your own life, you will really be apathetic. Kasi nothing you are doing is for yourself. So my suggestion, my dear, is for you to start gaining control over your life. So, what did I teach you this afternoon? Start with your body. sleep properly. Kahit na anak, sasabihin mo na every night matutulog ako ng 10 o'clock ng gabi, gigising ako ng 6 o'clock the following morning. Just start that. And little by little, no? And after you wake up in the morning, you drink a glass of warm water, you go out under the sun because I told you to exercise. Exercise ka doon for maybe 20 minutes, no? Hingalin ka, jump up and down, jumping jacks, or get a jump rope, and then you hingal exercise for maybe 20 minutes before you go into your house and take your shower and start your day. Even just that, gain control over yourself, because apathy usually points to a mind that thinks wala na akong kakontrol-kontrol sa sarili kong buhay. So maybe I will suggest that you start there. Because how can you be apathetic as a student? I mean, you have been accepted into the UP system. And that's, as your dean said, you know, that's a wonderful accomplishment that you have done for yourself. So how can you choose to be apathetic about that? Hindi siguro, anak, ang nangyayari sa'yo, Gabriel, marami lang nangyayari sa buhay mo na parang ang feeling mo, wala ka na talagang say. So, okay lang if you have a parent there who is oppressing you or making you feel that, you know, you can't, they control you or something like that. Start with a little secret that I'm trying to tell you today. Develop your own schedule, develop your own rituals, develop your own sleep schedule, your exercise schedule. These are parts of your life that they cannot take away from you. Diba? So why don't you start there? Little by little, anak, I'm telling you it's gonna get better. Just get a schedule going for yourself na nobody can touch. Just put yourself in a part of the house na nobody can touch. You're not saying don't touch me, but you'll say, I will interact with the rest of you at certain times, and this is the list of the times that I can interact with you. Why? I have a responsibility to my school to finish all of my schoolwork. Okay? But do not also isolate yourself from them. That's a second thing also. Kasi if you isolate yourself from them, magiging apathetic ka na, anak, kasi wala ka namang interaction na sa kanila. So, di ba? So, maybe I hope I answered the question. It's very loaded, no? And as a clinician, I would really like to ask you more detailed things. So, if you try doing this, Gabriel, and the apathy does not go away, I suggest you seek help. No? Subukan mo na to do what I suggested, but if it really doesn't work and you're still apathetic, then humingi ka na ng tulong sa mental health professional. Okay? Or maybe a teacher or one of the administrators whom you feel comfortable with. Okay? Sige po. I hope I answered that.
Thank you, Doc. Ito po yung isang tanong. Kasama rin po ba sa way of controlling or making peace with yourself yung pagtingala at pagpuntong hininga? Kasi I subconsciously do it sometimes. And if it is, paano po ito makakatulong? In what way po? As a means of grounding din po ba yun? Thank you po.
Yeah, actually, the deep sigh, buntong hininga, yan ang isang ginagawa ng isang tao na, number one, stressed out. At saka, why does that help? Kasi when you take that deep sigh, you take in more oxygen than you usually do. And the higher dose of oxygen kind of perks you up. No, it's like a yawn, di ba? Yung naghihikab ka. Ba't ka naghihikab? Kasi kulang lang oxygen yung brain mo or it needs to be woken up. So you take in more oxygen. But more than just sighing, no, na isang like that, why don't you do the breathing exercise that I suggested to you? Diba? So more than just inhale and exhale, yan. And what will sighing do? Okay. When you sigh, you take oxygen in, and then when you blow out, you're blowing out a lot also of carbon dioxide. Kasi that's also one of the reasons why you will be breathing fast, no? If you have too much carbon dioxide in your blood. So also exhaling will help with that. But when you are sighing, that's a good sign that that's a sign that can be good for you kasi baka naman it's time for you to take a break, do the breathing exercises, and follow the coping in quiet time para ma-recharge ka. Okay? Okay. Merong nag-raise ng hand yata, si Early Diaz.
Ito po yung kanina, Doc, pero wala
Hindi na siya nagbaba ng hand niya.
Yes.
Okay.
Moving to the next question po. When we're shaking, caused by anxiety, panic, or overthinking, what is the most effective thing to do? Is breathing exercise effective and useful? What are the other things that I should do?
Yes, so thank you for that question. You can try the breathing exercises and the grounding techniques that I taught you this afternoon. No? Subukan nyo muna yon. But if you're, kasi trembling, anak, is really a sign of anxiety talaga. No? And as I said, in the lecture, anxiety is your mind thinking about something that will happen in the future and you bring it to the present. Hindi pa nangyayari yung bagay na yon, dinadala mo na sa kasalukuyan. That's anxiety. So, and the trembling is a manifestation of that. So my suggestion to the one who to ask the question is try the breathing exercises and the grounding techniques that I suggested to you. But again, if they don't work and talagang the trembling still continues, then I suggest you follow the 5th mental health tip. It's okay to seek help when you are not okay. No? Okay.
Po yung tanong, what is the best thing to do when as early as waking up, ang tense or anxious na po ng pakiramdam ko? Like as I get up in the morning, nag-i-start na po mag-rush in ang mga thoughts and things I need to do. Also, is this considered to be some sort of mental illness, especially if it happens usually?
Yeah, well, as I said, it could be, no? Pero one of the things that I'll tell you for the one who asked the question is, tingnan mo muna ang mga komponente ng buhay mo. Natutulog ka ba ng tama? Are you sleeping properly? Are you eating properly? Are you doing exercise properly? May addiction ka ba dyan na dapat tanggalin? Start there. Because if you really slept well and your sleep was all right, 7 to 8 hours, and it is at night. Diba? Sabi ko nga sa inyo yan eh, huwag kayong magpupuyat one night and then magbabawi allegedly the following day. Sleeping during the day is not a good thing. It will just confuse your brain on whether it is daylight or nighttime. So, what I will tell the person is, if you are like that already, sandali lang, take a step back and look at how you are running the physical aspects of your life. That's number one. Tama ba tulog mo? Nag-exercise ka ba? Tama ba yung diet mo? At wala ka bang addictions? Kasi kung ganyan na, baka naman doon lang, pag i-regulate mo yung tamang tulog mo, pag i-regulate mo yung exercise mo at yung dieta mo at hindi ka na nagsashot ng MP Light o ano bang iniinom mo, eh baka naman yung shakiness mo in the morning will go away. And if you do that regularly kasi anak, no, you will get a sense of control. Kasi pag gumising ka and then all of a sudden everything that you need to do rushes to you. So, number one, you have to make sure that you are balanced. The second thing is, alam mo, in order to avoid anxiety, you plan. No? So, hindi yung hayaan mo na yung lahat ng mga assignment for tomorrow and then I will just do it when I wake up. Ay, hindi po ganon. My suggestion to the students is be preemptive, mga anak ko. In fact, I think it should be week by week that you should plan it. I mean, your teacher provides you a syllabus, provides you a list of the activities that you need to do. Plan it out. Pag Sunday pa lang, napaplat out mo na yung Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Kung kailan ka magsasubmit ng paper, kung kailan ka magtatrabaho doon sa paper na dapat mong isubmit sa Wednesday. No? Time management, my dear students. Kasi if you are constantly running after the requirements, you will get tired. But if you have a strategy, if you have a strategic plan to attack, no? Ako, whenever I coach my young patients, I say you have to strategize your study like a general strategizing a war. Diba? You have to know the requirements. You have to know even the ugali of your professor sana, di ba? Alamin mo 'yun. Eh mga professor na talagang, di ba? Na, di ba, square peg in a round hole. Oh. Eh hindi mo naman pwedeng mag-drop na lang pag yung professor mo ganyan. No? So you have to strategize, you have to find your way around that kasi given 'yan sa buhay mo eh. So time management and the strategy. Mga matatalino kayo lahat, 100%. I know that you are super intelligent students. So why can't you strategize? You can strategize in a computer game, right? Oh, Clash of Clans, di ba? Mga wala na siguro, luma na ako, may iba na yan, no? But di ba, you have all sorts of strategy games online. Why can't you strategize your schooling? Oh, you can do that. Think about it like, di ba? Okay, so this is going to be a battle. So I need to get all my resources here and then I need to put things in the right place. Oh, si professor na ganito is medyo open ito, gives a good amount of requirements. Pero this other one, parang wow, every time I see, parang 10 yung bagong requirement eh. Every time I talk to them eh. So you have to strategize how you deal with both of them, no? And when the strategies don't work, yan na, kakatok ka na sa advisor mo. Ma'am, medyo tulungan mo kami kasi, di ba? Oh, hindi namin magagawa yung maghahanap ng specimen ng ganito kasi nasa bahay kami lahat. So, paano naman kami mag-o-observe ng isang caterpillar dyan sa di ba? So, okay, I hope I am making sense. And I'd like very much for the persons whom I am not making sense to feedback and maybe to clarify what I'm saying, but to just put it into two sentences. make sure that you are physically doing things right. Sleep, diet, no addictions, exercise. Number 1. Pangalawa, strategies. Plan it out. Time management, people management. Ngayon, you have to manage also your family members, di ba? So, kailangan ilagay mo pa yan sa strategy ninyo. Paano ko isa-strategize yung bunso na kailangan na tuturuan ko ng mathematics? Di ba? Kasi ako naman ang taga-UP, ako ang matalino, so ako ang magtuturo doon sa mga bunso. Oh, planuhin nyo yon para hindi toxic para sa inyo. And you don't get, nako mga anak ko, one of the things you should do is don't get resentful. Huwag kayong, do not feel resentment na, nandito ako, nag-aaral ako, kayo, kailangan pa akong umupo dyan, tapos tuturuan siya ng ganito, tuturuan siya ng module, tuturuan siya ng hindi ganon. No resentment, because that's what life is here in these COVID times, my friends. So, okay, so how can I help? May time ba ako mag-help? Di, i-allot mo yung time na mag-help. Wala ba akong time mag-help? Ay di, gently sabihin mo na, wala akong time na mag-help. So can somebody help? When I can have time, then I will also be the one to help. Okay? So I hope I answered the question.
Ito, Doc, mukhang ang tanong niya kasi ay, may recommendations po ba kayo na nagbibigay therapy and prescription for free or minimal fee around Los Baños?
I think if I know, I think I know that there is a psychiatrist who goes on duty to service the students of UP Los Baños. Diba? And you can get, I think, tama ba, Dr. Aquino? I think there is a service, diba? There is a health service for students na libre naman, diba?
Si Dr. Katsi, Doc, would like to.
Yes, Dr.
Yes.
Katsi.
Opo, hello. Meron pong UHS Mental Health Clinic, yung ating pong health service. So meron po, pag tignan nyo yung Facebook page nila, tapos dun sa, pag nag-chat kayo yung sa messages, so merong classification dun yung chat, yung UHS Mental Health Clinic. So pwede po dun magpa-schedule. So meron po tayong isang resident psychiatrist dito sa UPLB, si Dr. Alexandra Palis po.
Si Dr. Alex Palis is
Yes,
your resident psychiatrist there.
Apo,
At
UPLB.
mabait yan si doktora. So wag kayong mag-atubiling lalapitan siya. No, and I think she has arranged for online clinic, so hindi na
Apo.
kailangan na puntahan, no? So oo, meron yan. Kaya yan. So if you really think na yung, like for example, yung mga lessons na natutunan nyo ngayong hapon na ito, sinusubukan nyo naman pero hindi talaga siya umuobra, ay seek help nga. Di ba? That's the 5th mental health tip. Okay? Thank you, Ma'am Katsi.
Thank you, sir.
Ito pa po yung question. You said po before na find your own study place and remind your family not to disturb you in class. What if there is no quiet place in our home? And even if I told my family already, they don't cooperate. I also have an autistic brother who I can't control. How can I cope up, especially during exams and quizzes?
Yeah, that's really a problem of strategy, anak eh. No? So, I don't know how you can fix that. No? If you leave the house naman, kasi ang maiisip ko lang dyan is you go somewhere else and study somewhere else. But meron bang ganon? At kung meron ganon, may wifi ba doon? Kasi everything now is Wi-Fi based. But I think, alam mo, at the end of the day, to whoever is asking this question, I think maybe a conversation needs to be done between you and your family. Because, you know, as I said, communication is the key. So, hindi ko alam kung you need to reach out, you call a family meeting, for example, where you will tell them your difficulty. And it's not difficulty na umaayaw ka, natutulungan yung pamilya. But to fit it into the schedule of your study, I think they will understand that. Kasi, wow, they're so proud that you're a student at the UP. Diba? And what will happen if you don't make it in UP? Diba? And I am sure they will be very open to listening to how to have a desirable kind of a setup at home for you. But again, anak, whoever is asking this, there may be details that you need to kind of speak of. I'm talking in generalities, eh. And there may be other parts of that question that I don't see. So really, kung talagang para sa'yo hopeless na magkakaroon ka ng ganon, seek help ka na lang. You just go to a counselor. Might not need to be a psychiatrist, no? And you can ask them to help you, or maybe somebody in your community, or a lolo or a lola na pwede mong lapitan na, Lo, kausapin mo naman si mama na baka naman pwedeng bigyan lang ako ng time, no, i-submit ko lang ang schedule sa kanya na ito yung mga synchronous and asynchronous time ko na ma-fit in doon sa schedule nila para magkakaroon lang ng coordination, anak, no? Sige.
I think Miss Ermeline Molina raised her hand. Would you like to ask your question, Miss Molina?
Yes, Ermeline. Good afternoon.
Raise ba ng hand or accident lang na pindot?
Merong iba na naiyak doon sa lecture ko.
Definitely, Doc. Definitely.
Ganun maka-stress na naiiyak yung
mga bata. Yes, Miss Molina, nandyan ka po. You'd like to ask your question to Dr. Vista? Napindot lang daw po niya, Doc. Okay.
napindot
so,
lang.
Opo, basahin ko po yung ibang tanong. Ito po. When is the best time? When is the best time to decide that one needs to seek for professional help? Or when we know that what we're feeling is too much, or it could pose some sort of mental illness that could be detrimental? Thank you po.
Yeah, so thank you for that question, no? And it's a good one. Yung mga sinasabi ko sa talk ko ngayong hapon na ito are normal coping. Diba? Yung suggestions ko kung paano magko-cope normally with the pandemic. So, kung parang over and above yung nararamdaman o na-experience ho ninyo, from what I described this afternoon, I suggest that you seek help. Lalo na if really to the extreme already na, like the one who asked about apathy. Diba? Sabi ko, you try the maneuvers that I suggested. If it doesn't work, then that means umaapaw ka na. So maybe you need already to, do mental health tip number 5 and seek help. Okay? And it's okay to do that. Now, yeah, so that siguro is what I will say. Kasi let us not wait until malala na talagang may disorder na. So what would that be? It's like, alam mo kaya tinatawag na disorder yung mga kondisyon sa psychiatry, mga mahal ko. Hindi siya disease, di ba? Wala kang naririnig na psychiatric disease. It's psychiatric disorder. Kasi ang problema sa isang tao na may mga simptoma na hindi na makakagawa ng dapat niyang gawin sa araw-araw, yan ho ang tinatawag nating disorder. So, kung may anxiety ka, pero nakakagawa ka pa ng mga araw-araw na pangangailangan mo, you're still going to school, you're still trying to cope. So, I'm telling you, one of the things that we found in mga frontliners dun sa PGH, if you give them exams to screen for anxiety and depression, most of them will really score positive. But you see them every day, going to work, fighting the battle there in the emergency room at PGH. Are they feeling anxious? Are they feeling depressed? Are they feeling stressed out? Are they feeling burned out? All of them will score high on all those scales. But having those symptoms does not necessarily mean that you have a disorder. Because if you're still doing your function, then that's probably part of your resiliency, anak. It's really part of your strength. It's part of your ability to cope. Kahit malungkot ka, sige pa rin. Kahit you push yourself. And this is what I keep on telling people. We should increase the resiliency of our students and our trainees instead of looking for pathology. So that list that I gave you at the end of the talk, those are my suggestions to boost resiliency, to give them a reason to continue. Right? And if you ask me, maybe one of the things that we can do as a university is really look into the capacity for internet, diba? Of all our students, and try to help them there, diba? And when you give your tasks to do the projects, wag naman yung impossible to do na parang, diba? Because that's the source of the symptoms. But really, we should move from pathologizing to resiliency. Because sino bang hindi sino bang walang anxiety? Nobody's not free of anxiety in this COVID world. Who is? Sige nga, show me somebody who has not experienced depression and anxiety in the past 2 years. Well, none of us are exempted. But are we coping, mga anak ko? Di ba? Meron tayong ganyan, pero how do we cope with it? Hindi ibig sabihin na meron kang ganyan, wala na yung buhay mo. And you should drop everything and just lay down there and not do anything anymore. Hindi. We need to keep on moving forward. Diba? Because this virus isn't going away soon. Okay? So I hope that answers the question. So, yeah. May isa pa dito si John Saldi Aviso. Feeling ko po kasi sobrang consumed na ako and overwhelmed sa mga bagay-bagay, ACADS, problems. Mas naging comfortable ako pag nag-iisa, lumalayo sa mga tao in general. Okay, ang tawag doon, John Saldi, is isolation. Isolation is different from solitude, anak. No? It's good that you have solitude. But solitude, quiet time, is only 30 minutes to 1 hour in every day. So his question is, normal lang po ba ito? Especially po kasi ganito yung mga nararamdaman ko. How to cope with this? So sa part ko po, sobrang hirap po na ibalik yung dati pong kasanayan. See? And I focus on this, Doktora Aquino, kasi this is exactly what I was pointing out in the talk. Si John Saldi, what you are describing, anak, is somebody who parang umaasa ka na yung nakaraan, babalik. Hindi na po babalik yon, anak. That's what I mean by creating your new reality now. You have to cope with the new world because COVID created a whole new world. Parang kanta yun, ah. Diba? No? COVID descended on us at iniba niya yung katotohanan ng buhay natin. Kung ikaw ayaw umusad, anak, at babaguhin mo yung sarili mo na para tumugon sa mga dikta ni COVID-19, ay talagang you will really find helplessness and hopelessness where you are. My challenge to you, anak, is try to move forward. Try to get over the grief of 2019. Nawala na siya. Tanggapin mo na nawala na siya. At sabihin mo sa sarili mo, so ano na ang gagawin ko ngayon na may COVID na sa mundong ito? What do I need to change in myself? What do I need to change in my body, mind, and my relationships? That's what I challenge you, John Saldi, to do. No? And once you do that, anak, no, what you can do is try it. And if you need help, as I said, do not hesitate to seek help in transitioning to this new world. Some people do it quite well. Some not so well. Not so fast. But don't worry about it. Ganyan talaga yan. And maybe you need to reach out to somebody to help you move to your new reality and acceptance of the COVID world. Okay? Thank you for the question, John?
Thank you very much. Ang dami nating na-i-consult kay Doc Pista, no? Dami na nating na libre. So, I think yun na lahat yung questions kay Doc Pista. Some of the questions kasi na natanong na hindi ko na pinasa are similar at nasagot na ni Doc Vista. So, that's our last question, yung pinasa ni Dr. Vista. So, yung next part ng ating program will be in appreciation of Dr. Vista sharing his expertise to us. We'd like to give him a certificate of appreciation. Let me just read the citation. Student Health and Welfare Committee, College of Agriculture and Food Science, University of the Philippines, Los Baños, presents this certificate of appreciation to Dr. Salvador Benjamin D. Vista for sharing his expertise as guest speaker during the webinar entitled The Hammer and Dance of a COVID World, 5 Mental Health Tips in Coping with the New Reality, given this 14th day of October 2021, signed Catherine Ann P. Castillo Israel, PhD, Chair of the CAF's Student Health and Welfare Committee, and Dean of the College of Agriculture and Food Science, Dean Elpidio M. Magdisig Jr., PhD. So, thank you po, Dr. Vista, for sharing your expertise with us this afternoon.
Thank you
for
po.
the second year.
It's my honor. Thank you for the citation. Thank you for the certificate po.
Before tayo mag-proceed sa closing remarks, may I request all the panelists to open their cameras and let's have a photo op. Photo ops po muna tayo. Kindly open your cameras, mga panelists po. Ms. Rachel, you will do the cue. You will give the cue for the photo op.
Rachel, Miss Rachel.
Okay po.
Ayan.
Okay po. Ready po. 1, 2, 3, smile. Isa pa po. 1, 2, 3, smile. Thank you po.
Thank you, Ms. Rachel. Okay. I think let me also remind our attendees to fill out the evaluation form for their certificate of attendance later. So nakalagay po sa chat box ata to, and you can also scan the QR code for the evaluation form. So for our closing remarks, let us hear from Dr. Catherine Antic Castillo Israel, the chair of the CAPS Student Health and Welfare Committee. Ma'am Katsi.
Yan. Thank you po, Ma'am Lisa. Okay, so thank you. Maraming salamat po muli, Dr. Vista, at kami pinaunlakan nyo na naman. At nagiging suki na kami. So, baliktad. Suki namin kayo. Anyway, maraming salamat, Doc, at lagi nyo kaming pinapaunlakan. At I think na-meet naman namin ang objectives namin today kasi ang daming estudyante ang nagtanong at nasagot naman ang kanilang mga tanong. And I think well appreciated po ang inyong talk. Yan, thank you po. Second, I would like to thank Dean Agbisi. Thank you po, Sir Pids, for always supporting our activities and for creating this committee. Actually, this is our first year anniversary. Ang committee po namin ay na-create October of last year. Ayan, so ang aking kasama team, ang aming core group, maraming salamat po dahil lagi po silang very excited at napakasipag magtrabaho para sa aming team. Yan. So, just a short message, as we all know, like COVID-19, mental health illnesses has also inflicted many households, and it may be our friends or our own family. And during this trying time, we need to be more sensitive, we need to listen more, and we need to care more. And we are all in this together. Ika nga ni Doc Vista. Yan. And ang last line ko lang ay, kasama nyo kami. Andito lang po ang CAF Student Health and Welfare Committee. And we will still be planning more activities para po makatulong sa ating mga estudyante ng CAFs. Ayan. Thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon. And we hope to see you again in our next activities.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Congratulations.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you. Sa susunod.
Salamat po, Dr. Vista. Salamat po.
Parang kasama na talaga ako dyan eh.
Yes, sir. Kasama talaga kayo.
See you guys. Ingat kayo. Take care.
Doc,
Thank you,
sa
Doc.
ulitin.
Thank you po.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye po.
Maraming salamat.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Doc Lisa.
Welcome po, Ma'am Katsi.
Hail college dear, thou learning's fountain, head of worth untold. We proudly sing thy praise and wave thy flags of green and gold. We love thy fields and pastures where our daily work is done, and nature's endless secrets are unraveled one by one. Agriculture college dear, devoted sons will ever be. Unceasing inspiration do we always draw from thee. We come from all the regions of this eastern island fair, and trustingly we place ourselves in thy protecting care. gifts. Agriculture College, dear, devoted sons will ever be. Unceasing inspiration do we always draw from thee. We come from all the regions of this eastern island fair, and trustingly we place ourselves in thy protecting care. Agriculture College, dear, devoted sons will ever be. Unceasing inspiration do we always draw from